Yes, indeed. Welcome into episode 67 of Rip N Riff here on the Rip N Riff YouTube channel. That over there is Mr. Jared Moore. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Thank you, as always, for watching, whether you're watching with us live or on a replay later. Always appreciate you hanging out, ripping some cards, and talking some sports with us. Jared, how was the weekend? I know it was plenty of poker this weekend for you.
Plenty of it this weekend. Very profitable weekend, so I certainly can't complain about that. And a special surprise coming to the YouTube channel that you see on the screen there, Jared Moore Poker, will be coming this week, as I decided to record a drive-in vlog where I just rambled on for about 30 minutes and slapped some B-roll right in the middle of it as a buffer. So stay tuned for that.
Now, how many times in this driving vlog do you like curse somebody out in traffic or like flip somebody off? Any of those instances at all?
Zero. I'm very much a person who strictly rides the left lane when they're going fast to go somewhere long distances, and probably shouldn't admit to speeding on the Garden State Parkway on a recorded video, but you could see my odometer. You could see how fast I was going. But I was going with the flow of traffic, so it's fine. The cops can't pull us all over.
And besides, it's the Garden State Parkway in the winter. Nobody's using the Garden State Parkway in the winter. That's a summer highway right there.
Right. It's very much Jersey Shore. The middle of January when you're driving down Atlantic City is once you get south of like PNC Bank Arts Center, you're fine.
Yeah, I love PNC Bank Arts Center, one of my favorite venues, but that's neither here nor there. We will get into what we're gonna talk NFL divisional round. We only know 3 of the matchups. Obviously, we got Vikings Rams kicking off in Glendale, Arizona tonight, being rescheduled to the Wildfires. Of course, would be remiss if we don't at least mention, hey, thinking about everybody in LA that's dealing with the multiple wildfires in the greater Los Angeles area. I myself have, experienced wildfires in Northern California. I had to evacuate twice. It's just like if you don't grow up in that environment, nothing really prepares you for that. Like, am I evacuating kind of thing? And when they tell you to go, you should go because it's fire. You don't want to mess with that. But anyway, back to the sports here. Let's get to the pack ripping lineup here before we get into our NFL divisional round preview. What do I got here? So I'm bringing one pack to the table today, but it is a jumbo pack. We got 2020-21 Upper Deck Hockey Series 2. You see some of the young guns we're looking for there: Kaprizov, Marchment, Stutzel, Dylan Cousins, and then you see some of the insert and subsets there. I will say there does feel like there's something thick in there, and that's something we all love to hear in life. Is there something thick inside?
Do you happen to have a patch card there, or are you happy to see me?
Why not both?
That's I don't need to hear about the thickness of your pack anymore, Adam. So I'm going to move on to what I'm ripping today. Got a couple of football packs there, and you can see some of the rookies on the screen there, like with the 2022 Panini Mosaics. James Cook, who's had an unbelievable season for the Buffalo Bills. Jameson Williams, we'll see him this weekend. Aiden Hutchinson, maybe we'll see him in the Super Bowl if the Cowboys, if the Lions get that far. And then we also have a special 1992 Skybox Impact Series pack. So very excited to see what we have in that as well.
Aiden Hutchinson. So apparently, if the Lions win this week against the Commanders, he'll be back for that NFC Championship game. So there you go.
Be a much welcome addition to that defense that's been beleaguered by injuries throughout the second half of the season.
No, we're already doing it. Let's talk there. That's one of the first, one of the 3 matchups, and the second one a wild card weekend. Let's talk a little NFL divisional round, and then you see we got the Commanders and we got the Lions on Saturday night, 8:00. Already out of the gate, Lions 8.5-point favorites, 55.5 total there. Like we mentioned, Aiden Hutchinson might return if they win this week. Looks like they're going to get David Montgomery back this week, so that's certainly a nice little boon to the offense. Lions coming off the bye. Commanders coming off a pretty good road victory. First Commanders/Redskins win in the playoffs since I graduated college, since that was the last 2005. I mean, that's a pretty long time. But, I mean, at least they've won a game. As my Jets haven't played in a playoff game in the entire duration of with my now wife. Since we started dating, they've never been to the playoffs. Maybe she's the problem. Anyway, so back to the football game here. Commanders, Lions. I want this to be a really good game, and I think it will. But like, to me, the Lions have this look of a team on a mission. They're getting healthy. They have they've done everything they had to do. They had their little blip on the radar. They lost to Buffalo. They've had a little bit of adversity in the season. I mean, it's really tough to. I mean, maybe 8.5 is a large number to cover, but I mean, to me, the Lions right now, it's tough to go against them.
Yeah, and there's no shame in losing to Buffalo. I mean, that was a highly touted regular season game that certainly, I know Buffalo won it comfortably, but certainly lived up to the billing. But I agree. I think Detroit's the most complete team in the NFC. I think the week off helps. I think the fact that they are getting healthy this time of year is very much helpful. And I expect the Lions to win this game. I give the Commanders credit because the interesting thing with the Commanders is, at least now in the next couple of years, this is probably going to be the worst of iteration of this Commanders group. Now that they have a bunch of salary cap space and they got that valuable rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, I think that that is so helpful for them moving forward. Like, the fact they'll be able to load up this team the next couple of years and really go for it. But I think the Lions are just a whole other animal. Pun intended there, I suppose. But I expect the Lions to win this game. How much is this spread? 8.5. 8.5 is a big point spread. I mean, I think I'll take the Commanders with the points, but I could see a little backdoor shenanigans there where the Lions are up 14, the Commanders get the late touchdown to make the score look more respectable than it is. But that's sort of how I see that game going.
Now, we thought we would get a shootout with the Commies and the Bucks last night, and that didn't happen. It was a 43-point total. You see, it's a 55.5 here for that game. It's very high. But if I could see the fireworks where these two teams could put that point total up. I mean, maybe we'll get the fireworks next week that we didn't get in Tampa Bay last night. But to go back to your point about the Commanders, yeah, I mean, talk about to be in a position where you have Jaden Daniels on a rookie contract and you can load up around him. I mean, next year you can pencil in a Commanders-Eagles game as a Sunday night. One of those two matchups will be a Sunday night game for sure. Like, you can count on that right now. But yeah, I mean, I think this is one of those years for the Commanders where, like, you completely turn things around. The future is very bright. You went on the road and beat a Tampa team that the rest of the NFC was probably happy to see leave because Bucks are capable of beating anybody. That's the Lions' other loss there earlier in the year was to Tampa Bay. So I think they get the playoff win last week, something to build off of. Now you're running into what everybody thinks is the odds-on favorite in the NFC at least to come out. Yeah, I would say that Lions win, but maybe a backdoor cover by the Commies.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I would lean towards the over with both these teams, just because Detroit is such a machine offensively, and especially with how well they play at home and the team that they built to play in that environment, I think plays to their strengths really well. I don't think Baker Mayfield played all that well yesterday. I was really disappointed with Tampa's performance offensively against the Commanders because I think you can put points up on the Commanders' defense, but they just made too many mistakes. Baker with that critical fumble late, and I was just overall just very disappointed with what I saw from Tampa, which was a team that I thought could actually go on a little bit of a run here with not only with them beating Washington, but I think they would have gotten Philly next round had they won. And Tampa's a team that can beat Philly. They've beaten Philly a few times over the last few years, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they were able to do that again, but they didn't get the job done, so it is what it is.
I'll say this too. Tampa is, even though they have a reputation as somebody that can beat everybody, there's also a few times this year where they were, lucky to get out of Dodge with a victory, and maybe they play both sides. They can play both roles. They can play that team that could beat Detroit, they can beat Philly, but then they also can they didn't look good yesterday, and that's all it takes in the playoffs is to not be at your best. And a team like Washington to take advantage of the opportunity, and that's what they did. So there we go. Other NFC matchup is dependent on what happens with the Vikings and Rams tonight. The winner will be heading to Philadelphia and playing that game on Sunday afternoon. Lions Commanders will be Saturday night. Now over in the AFC, we're going to save the marquee matchup of the weekend, but we'll start with Texans Chiefs here. Chiefs coming off the bye. They're currently 8-point favorites. Total on that one, a very low 41.5 there. I know they're expecting some cold weather in Kansas City, so maybe that'll slow the offenses down. Texans coming off a thrashing of the Chargers, 32-12. CJ Stroud looked a little bit more like the CJ Stroud of last season in this game. I mean, granted, the Chargers, gave them multiple turnovers to kind of hand the game to them, but nonetheless, here the Texans are. When they played KC a few weeks ago, that was the game they lost Tank Dell. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know if anybody's predicting Chiefs, a Texans upset on the road. I think a lot of us would like to see that. KC also, you could say, is a team that kind of has that like on a mission look, trying to become the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls. I don't know if they could have asked for anything better than a team like the Texans coming versus like a team like the Chargers that knows them well.
I couldn't have been more disappointed in the Chargers in the second half of that game against the Houston Texans on Saturday afternoon. And this is one of those things I think I've mentioned on the show before. Justin Herbert has had an uncanny knack for avoiding any and all criticism of not playing well in the past when he hasn't played well. And he was downright atrocious in the second half of that game. Now, I feel like that tide is starting to turn a little bit just because he was like that horrifically bad in that game. But that was just an unwatchable sporting event on Saturday. And I say that to say I don't think Houston's defense is going to be able to do that on the road against Patrick Mahomes coming off a bye. Teams rested up. They're going to be very well game planned. And I know it's a little bit cliche, Andy Reid off a bye, but like go look at Andy Reid's career numbers off of a bye week, and he's something like an 850 winning percentage or whatever it is, because you give him that extra time to prepare, and he'll devise a game plan. And I expect the Chiefs to win this game convincingly. Again, it's another big point spread.
It's 8.5 now. It's tough. But
it's tough because I don't think the Chiefs are going to score a lot of points, but I don't think they have to score a lot of points. So I might take Houston with the points, but I would lean towards the under in general. So like I could see like a 20-13 type of game.
I would go because it's a 41.5. I mean, I know the Chiefs offense hasn't been as explosive lately, and this is going to be a game that's played a little bit closer. I feel like I don't know if the Chiefs are going to win. I don't know if I would take the Texans to cover because I could see a 10-point victory, but I like the over in that game, 41.5. I could see like a 20, not by much, but maybe like a 24-20, 27-14, 14, because no, that would be 27. No, that's enough. 28-14, something like that. Just enough to get over it a little bit there. So that's what I like in that one. You said, oh, by the way, you said that game on Saturday was unwatchable. You know what made it more unwatchable for me? I had to go to the local Comcast Xfinity store to get a couple of replacement window sensors. I walk in, I see them on the shelf. I'm like, oh, great. And I go to like, can I purchase these? Like, no, you have to wait until you get checked in and talk to a representative. I'm like, but I don't need any consultation. I literally just need to buy this item. And I still had to wait 45 minutes to have somebody ring me up to talk about that. Now, at least they had the Charger Texan game on, but it wasn't even an enjoyable game. It wasn't even like, all right, I'm stuck here. At least I can watch some football. No, couldn't do it.
All right. I have a few follow-up questions on this one.
Yes.
A, why are they as backwards as they are? And B, what is a window sensor for like your home security or?
Yeah, exactly. So like when I open the window, like it'll let me know it's open or closed. And obviously if somebody messes with it when the alarm is on, it'll let me know. But 2 of them I have to replace, but apparently they have to link them to the account. And it's like, but somebody, that was interesting on Saturday afternoon. Nonetheless, so we talked Texans Chiefs. We got one more to go. This is the matchup we've all been looking forward to and wanting all year. I'm going to go say it right now. I think this is the AFC Championship matchup right here. Ravens Bills. Whoever wins this, I think, goes into Kansas City and wins next week. Talk about that next week. But This is going to be, I really hope this game lives up to everything it's supposed to be. And it's not like one of these, like, boring 16-12 kind of affairs. I don't think it'll go that way. You got the Ravens and the Bills. Bills currently 1-point favorites there. That number is going down and down. More and more people taking the Ravens out of the gate early. Total 51.5 there. That is the weekend finale there, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I think this is one I'm just staying away and watching and enjoying for what it's going to be. I mean, you're talking about the top two MVP candidates are facing off here in the second round of the playoffs. I mean, I don't know what else you really want. There's three strong teams in the AFC. These two of the three are meeting for the right to probably try and dethrone the Chiefs. This game's got everything.
I know there's a consensus out there that the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that. And a big part of the reason why is I'm not entirely I still don't trust Lamar in the big game. I know Lamar has had these incredible regular seasons where he's put up MVP caliber numbers. He's been even better this season. I don't know if he's going to win it this year because obviously there's a debate between him and Josh Allen. And if it were me, I would probably go Lamar because he has the numbers to back it up. But I still don't 100% trust Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. And going into Orchard Park is a tough environment for any player, let alone Lamar Jackson, and a quarterback who is capable of going toe to toe and score for score with you. I know Baltimore looked good in their win on Saturday against the Steelers. I think Buffalo looked like a team on a mission yesterday. They fell behind early, and then they just said, like, all right, you're not doing anything the rest of the game. We're just going to run the ball down your throat. We're going to make as many big plays in the passing game as we need to, and there's nothing the Broncos can do about it to stop it. And I think it could be somewhat similar here. I mean, obviously the Lamar's capable of keeping any game close, but I would lean the Bills in this game. I think Buffalo's the better team overall. The fact that they have the home field advantage, I think, is key, and the fact that I think Josh Allen is just on a different level this year, and I trust him a little bit more this time of year is probably going to be the difference for me in this game.
I know people want to go back, but they've beat the doors off from 35-10, but that was week 4 in Baltimore. It's a much different season than week 4. What is that? The end of September, early October. We're now in mid-January. Totally different time. And early in the season too. You look at the Bills' schedule in hindsight leading into that game. 34-28 over a Cardinals team that we now know was a competitive, decent team. At week 1, we didn't know that. They thrashed the Dolphins on a short week on the road. They beat the crap out of the Jaguars at home, and then they got to step up an opponent there. So, and they lose to the Texans the following week, and then they just proceed to go on a roll after that and don't lose until the Ram game. I trust Lamar Jackson. I think maybe, he has to prove in a big game that he can do it, but I think he's taken big steps forward this year. I'm leaning Buffalo just because, the team on a mission look like we've said about Detroit, Kansas City, they're playing very close in games. They're getting by the skin of their neck, but, they're still trying to get the 3 championships in a row. I like Buffalo in this game. I'm leaning towards them, but I just want this to be anything you can do, I can do better battle between Lamar and Josh. I want both quarterbacks passing over 300 yards and rushing they both got over 50. So I want this to be an offensive explosion on Sunday evening.
Exactly.
That's what we're looking for here, folks, because that's supposed to be one of the games of the year. I hope it lives up to the hype, because there's nothing worse than an exciting matchup like that, and then it's just like a dud. Now, before we get on to the coaching news here, do you think wild card weekend or divisional weekend is better?
Divisional weekend's better because you have the better teams playing with the teams coming off the bye. And, in theory, it's the 8 best teams in the NFL who are still standing.
And for me, like wild card weekends, like, oh, it's 2 extra games. It's football all day, Sunday, and extra on Saturday. It's like, yeah, but usually on wild card weekend, 2 of those games end up being like, all right, I'm going to go mow the lawn instead of finishing this game. Like that's how wild card weekend usually goes.
Most of those games this weekend were not very good. I mean, the best game this weekend was probably Washington, Tampa.
Yeah, by far.
I mean, obviously Minnesota, LA is to be determined, but for the most part, the games I thought were mostly non-competitive, including the Philly game yesterday. Like, Philly gets out to that early lead off of. I still don't understand how they ruled that Philly recovered that opening kickoff, because the refs just gifted the Eagles 7 points right there. But even if they hadn't done that, like, Philly was winning that game going away. There was nothing Green Bay was going to do to win that game.
That game felt over at 10-0 Eagles. That's what that game felt like. Yeah, but I agree. Like, the Saturday games were okay. Like Steelers Ravens had a little bit of competitive balance there, but
even then, that was all second half after Baltimore got out big. Like, Pittsburgh was as lifeless as anyone in the first half of that game.
Yeah. Now, some people are calling for Mike Tomlin's head, but Mike McCarthy, no longer the Cowboys head coach, relieved of his not bringing him back. Contract was up. This is a week after the Bears, were like, hey, can we talk to Coach McCarthy? And the Cowboys are like, no.
This is why the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They put everything off to the last minute when it comes to contractual negotiations. Like, they did this with Dak. They did this with CeeDee Lamb. They're doing it with Micah Parsons, who's due for a new deal. And they did it with their head coach, who they left, like, I guess, twisting in the wind behind the scenes. You have the Chicago Bears last week, who requested to interview Mike McCarthy, who's out of contract tomorrow. And the Cowboys, instead of acquiescing to that request and saying, well, yeah, we know we're not going to bring him back, so you want to talk to him, like, all right, go ahead, who cares? They decided to deny that request. So it's just classic how the Cowboys operate in 2025 under Jerry Jones, who can't get out of his own way as the general manager of that team. And I expect Mike McCarthy, because of his track record, even though he's very much a flawed head coach, I think he's going to land on his feet somewhere. I mean, there's already talk of interest between Chicago and New Orleans. And considering the Jets have talked to everybody, the Jets should probably talk to Mike McCarthy as well, because you're going to need an offensive mind. Now, I don't know if that Mike McCarthy-Aaron Rodgers marriage would work a second time, but they at the very least, they should have the conversation with him. So we'll ultimately see how Mike McCarthy's impending free agency will play out.
So one of the things that you hear about the Jets job recently, because of like we all know it's been a dysfunctional franchise forever, but like stuff has come out recently that really like shed a spotlight on that. Dallas is the same thing. Like, I don't know how they're going to attract a halfway decent coach when it's Jerry Jones. Like, I know there's that allure of like, oh, if I can get the Cowboys to the Super Bowl, like I'm going to be like, it's never going to happen when Jerry Jones is there. So I don't know what kind of like, if Mike Vrabel was still available, he just got hired by the Patriots. I don't think he probably maybe takes the Cowboys interview just to get a trip to Dallas and say hi to a few people, but I don't think he would have seriously considered it. I don't know what top candidate, unless you're a candidate looking for a new opportunity, but even like a Ben Johnson, like he's going to have the pick of what he wants. Why would he go deal with that in Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great situation. Yeah, you have an older quarterback. You have a very top-heavy roster, because they certainly have star players, and they have some very good players there with, some of the guys I mentioned. Like, Dak's a good player when he's healthy. CeeDee Lamb's a top receiver. Micah Parsons is a stud on defense. But it's not the deepest roster. They haven't done a really great job drafting the last couple years. It's just a few high-priced players and a whole lot of I don't know what else we have. I don't know what we have at running back or receiver, and the offensive line's not as good as it was 10 years ago. And the back end of that defense might be a little sus. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see what happens down there in Dallas with Jerry Jones and that circus and the Jet circus, and we'll certainly talk about it here. Now, we're talking plenty of football. Why don't we rip some football packs? You got some 2022 mosaics there you want to crack open?
Yeah, let's crack these open. No East Coast camp today because I left my laptop in the other room, but we can go through these pretty quickly, and hopefully we get some nice, very beautiful and wonderful cards here. And we start with Damian Harris with the New England Patriots. And as you mentioned, Mike Vrabel, the new head coach of the Patriots, with that press conference going on today. I don't think anyone's surprised by that Mike Vrabel hire. That seemed like that was going to happen the second they fired Gerard Mayo. And they did due diligence with, complying with the Rooney Rule. But the second they had a chance to hire Mike Vrabel, they were going to hire Mike Vrabel.
I mean, this also goes back to like, when Tennessee got rid of him. It's like, what are you doing? Like, he got you what, close to 500 with that roster, and then you see, I mean, there's a coaching difference right there. You see what happens with the Titans with Vrabel in the picture and Vrabel out of the picture. Nobody's surprised he's to the Patriots now. As a fan of the Jets in the AFC East, I don't love that move because I feel like Vrabel can listen. I'm not going to say the Patriots are going to go back to a 20-year dynasty, but he's going to get that franchise up to speed in the next year or two real quick.
Yep. Well, speaking of Tennessee letting guys go, and what are they doing? How about Eagles receiver A.J. Brown here? The well-read, well-educated A.J. Brown, who was caught on the sidelines reading a book about I don't know, mental awareness or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's got like lines highlighted. Like some people like making a big deal out of it. Like, listen, whatever you got to do to be mentally ready, if you got to come off to the sideline and spend 45 seconds reading a couple of passages that are going to get you right, go back out to the next drive, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, in hockey, you got people saying that there's too many, tablets behind the bench and they don't come off the bench and just get to think about what they just did. That's what A.J. Brown is doing.
Yep. So I have no issue with A.J. Brown. I mean, you guys want to make fun of him for reading on the sideline. I think that's pretty silly, but it is what it is. You have Tony Romo here with the Cowboys, who not the greatest picture. Makes him look a little portly there around the middle. So not the greatest angle there.
I also feel like if I twisted my body in that same way, I might throw my back out. So
yeah, and we're all at the age right now. We're trying to be very careful about throwing our backs out. A mainstay of your dynasty championship team, Javonte Williams.
Yes, acquired him last year in a failed attempt, but this year, I mean, he was very spotty this year. I mean, the Broncos' running game is kind of all over the place. I mean, there were weeks where Javonte Williams had good weeks. There were weeks where he was absent. They had Lachlan, they have Estime. I mean, that's something that's got to be sorted out for next year. But Denver definitely done a lot to show that brighter days are ahead.
And we finished this pack off with a couple heavy hitters here. How about an Aiden Hutchinson rookie card? Ooh. Certainly like to pull that there with one of the best young defensive players in the league, who obviously missed a huge portion of this season with injury. And one of our parallels here of Jalen Hurts, quarterback for your Philadelphia Eagles.
So you got two heavy hitters there back to back. Nice pulls there. I mean, man, you know what I would love to see? If you got a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl, just Aiden Hutchinson hunting down Patrick Mahomes, making his life miserable for 60 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I don't have any rooting interest in any of these teams remaining, other than I'm rooting against whoever the Eagles are playing. Like, I can't stand that organization. I can't stand their fans. I can't stand the team. It is what it is. And a little side note right here, I'm getting a little tired of every time I watch the Eagles and they're talking about Saquon Barkley and the little subtle pot shots of, oh, he didn't have this last year in New York. It's like, yeah, we get it. The Giants stink. I get it. I'm a Giants fan. I'm well aware the Giants stink. I don't need you to remind me every single time Saquon Barkley does something awesome that the Giants stink.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. It's, people love to trash on New York teams and all that. And like, yes, it was like a bad decision that they let him go. But like, we're in what, week 19, week 20, whatever the hell we're in right now, the NFL season. Like, we've heard that storyline like literally a dozen times.
I was rooting for the Packers yesterday just so I could factually say that Saquon Barkley got closer to a Super Bowl with the Giants than the Eagles. And I can't say that now. So,
nope.
Now I could say Saquon Barkley got as close to a Super Bowl with the Giants as he did with the Eagles if the Eagles lose this week, which if they get the Vikings, I mean, that's a tricky matchup. So we shall see. We also got our kid reporter card here. So if you want to
have the kid reporter card.
Yep. Be my guest there. All right, one more pack here, the Mosaics, and then we'll move on to the Skybox. All right, we start with a few legends here. Jerry Rice, might have heard of him, greatest receiver of all time.
I mean, I do enjoy those Matthew McConaughey commercials where, like, the NFL's you got players named after food because it's a conspiracy to buy. And he's like, oh, look, Jerry's eating rice. Those are very well done commercials.
Oh, I get it, because his last name's... Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Ty Law with the New England Patriots.
Love Ty Law. Play with the Jets, too.
He did play with the Jets. I almost forgot about that. This is more of a Legends heavy pack, but we got the one player here who is active, who did not make the playoffs. I guess the committee decided to leave him out because he didn't have enough wins against the SEC. Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals. Nice little American themed card there with the stars and stripes in the background.
That's when you want to show off on the 4th of July. That's for sure.
Yep. We got a few more legends here. Peyton Manning, might have heard of him, Hall of Fame quarterback.
Is that the guy that does that Monday Night Football simulcast with his brother? That's that guy.
Has.
Right? Yeah.
He has, and he is the guy who has indirectly ruined the alternate casts for every other entity that has decided, oh, well, the Manning cast is a success. How can we do an alt cast that is also a success? Because a lot of these other alternate casts are just not very good, especially compared to the Manning cast. And that goes for, whatever McAfee's doing with the college stuff. That goes for, Disney has all these branded tie-ins with a lot of their kids shows that they do it with. The SpongeBob wild card game with the AFC, the Simpsons tie-in. And look, nobody's a bigger fan of the Simpsons than me. I don't need a Simpsons tie-in for an NFL game in 2024.
Nope. And the thing about the Manning cast is like, it's literally a lightning in a bottle. You got somebody who's Peyton, who's very good with the media, an all-time legend, Hall of Famer, all that. And then you have his brother, who is the perfect foil to him, who also had a ton of success, maybe not like out there in the spotlight, but just whenever he tweets something, it's gold. He knows how to be snarky. Like, it's just like, you can't replicate that. Like, even like the Kelsey brothers, like if you put them on a simulcast, it's not going to be as good. It's just that's what they have everything. They have the name recognition, they have the careers, they have the experience, and they have the sense of humor. And they, when they bring guests on, like they seamlessly come right in, no problem.
Right. And that's not to say that a lot of these other people don't have their own lanes that they're not successful in. Like Pat McAfee's obviously very successful with his show and what he's doing there.
It's
like
just
the
Kelsey's simulcast watching thing. They've mastered it.
Right. The Kelseys are very successful with their podcast. I watch their clips all the time, and the fact that they're brothers and they have that natural chemistry with the two of them is great. But like, what I don't need to see? A late night Jason Kelsey variety show on ESPN. I'm good. Put that in my backyard. I'll draw the blinds.
And like, it's one of those things where it's like, I get like a late night sports talk show in the vein of like a David Letterman, Jimmy Fallon, like, Colbert, those guys. It hasn't been really done yet, so I get wanting to try it, but there's probably a reason it hasn't been done yet.
Because every time they've tried it, it hasn't worked. Like they tried that with Joe Buck on HBO, and it didn't work.
And I get it, like it might be a little different with like a former player, especially with the presence that Jason Kelsey has, and like now he's like transcending sports. But like, yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work. But there we go.
No, I've had enough Jason Kelsey for a while. Chad Johnson, another legend who is also very successful post-playing career, doing that nightcap show with Shannon Sharp on YouTube. So credit to him. And last but not least, the will to win Russell Wilson card here. So very cool to see there. Russell Wilson here, picture with the Broncos. Not only were the Broncos unsuccessful this weekend, but so is Russell Wilson's current team, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Before you get to the 92 Skybox, Chad Ochocinco Johnson, whatever you want to call him, is he number retire worthy for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who. I don't follow the Bengals closely enough to know like who they have who has their numbers retired and the sort of bar that they've established when it comes to that sort of thing. I mean, he's probably already in their Ring of Honor if they do one of those, but. I mean, he was the best receiver on the team there for a decade, and certainly one of the best receivers in the league when he was at his peak. So I don't see why he wouldn't be
So they've only got one retired number, so they're pretty stingy about it. So that's probably a case against it. So
well, the Bengals are a notoriously cheap franchise, so they probably don't want to pay guys to actually come back and like actually like put them up in a hotel and give him the honor for one night. Because then not only do you have to bring him and his entire family in, but you got to bring in like all their closest teammates and friends and all that sort of stuff. And the Bengals are one of those franchises that still wants to make the team pay. They want to make the players pay for the Gatorade.
Hey, Chad, week 8, you're going to be in town? Might want to retire. Oh, you're not? All right, maybe next year. All right, well, we'll see what we can do next year. Let us know your itinerary for 2025. Maybe it'll line up and we can do it one weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of like working for a place where you get these awesome concert tickets, but transportation's not provided.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take that too sometimes with the way concert prices are. I'll pay a cab or take a train or whatever.
All right, let's do the Skybox thing here.
We've ripped a pack of these before on the show. I like these cards.
Did you do these before? Or do I do these?
I did these before. I remember ripping them.
All right, yeah. So you'll certainly. All right, I can see why you remember it because you remember the big text at the top of these cards. So like rookie Tracy Scroggins. So instant impact there with the Lions. Not really sure how that worked out for the Tulsa product there. Let's see. We have Derek Fenner with the Seattle Seahawks.
Look at that card is very early 90s.
Oh, it's so early 90s. Let's see. We have Dermontti Dawson with the Steelers. And, you mentioned Mike Tomlin earlier. We talked about the Steelers before. We mentioned this last week in the show. They are a team in no man's land. They are not good enough to contend, but they're not bad enough to bottom out and get a truly difference-making quarterback. And they're sort of stuck in the middle there because Mike Tomlin is a good enough coach where he's going to squeeze 9 to 10 wins out of that team every year.
And yeah, like at a certain point, and listen, I get with the Steelers because they've had so few head coaches. When you do decide to get rid of somebody, it has to be like a big deal. I don't know. I can see both sides of the argument with whether Tomlin should stay or go. I think it's tough to fire a guy off a playoff appearance, but maybe it's time for a change. I wouldn't though.
Yeah, and that is an organization that certainly they like the smell of their own brand when it comes to we've only had 3 head coaches since 1969, so there's that as well. Let's see, we have Dino Hackett, linebacker with the Kansas City Chiefs there, who we've already mentioned their upcoming matchup here this weekend with the Houston Texans. Let's see, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers checklist. So, you can see some of the players on the back there. You can pursue there.
There we go.
Let's see. We have Brad Baxter with the New York Jets.
Remember him very well.
And that classic Jets look that they've worn 1 or 2 times this season that I'm personally a huge fan of. Let's see. Eric Swan, the Arizona Cardinals. We have a league leader, Steve Young card.
There we go. The lefty quarterback there.
We have, it's funny. We just pulled him in the Panini Mosaic for the Legends. Let's pull him when he was actually out there in his prime, Jerry Rice.
Probably in the same exact shape in both photos, even though years apart. But I mean, man, he is. Yeah. I know some people are like, oh, he's not the best player of all time. Football, it's tough to do a best player of all time because there's just so many positions and obviously the value of the quarterback. But I mean, Rice is up there.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and grab the Rice card in a second just to compare the shot that they use for both of these. But we'll finish this off with 3 more cards here. Clarence Verdon with the Colts, and last but not least, a pair of one former head coach in the NFL, one current head coach. So we have Jack Del Rio with the Dallas Cowboys, who head coach for a long time with the Jaguars, and Jim Harbaugh, who certainly got the Chargers back to the playoffs, but obviously the season did not end the way that the LA Chargers were hoping for. Which
listen, I know that's not the way you want to end the season, but like Harbaugh turning the Chargers around, getting them to the playoffs this year, that's a huge step in the right direction, and that shouldn't get overlooked. I know that's not where you want to be, but now maybe next year you can threaten the Chiefs for the division. Maybe that's the next step.
Yep, and just for comparison's sake, here's a shot of the 2 Jerry Rice cards side by side. So not too dissimilar.
No, I mean, that's also the best Niners look like there. The red jerseys, the gold pants, gold helmets. I mean, that's classic.
Yep. So that is it for me for this week in terms of NFL cards. Certainly a lot of interesting polls here.
You've had definitely some candidates for poll of the day. Now let's do some hockey here. We're going to do a jumbo, 2020-21 Upper Deck hockey. All right. Hopefully we get some good ones here. Right. All right out of the pack. We said good ones, not a good guy. Milan Lucic. Let's go. What else do we got here? We got Yevgeny Kuznetsov, who is back over in the KHL, looking sharp in that throwback Caps jersey there. Let's see here. Got another former Cap here. We got Jacob Verana, who's bounced around a little bit. Let's see here. We've got Ryan Reeves, picture with the Golden Knights there. Assuming his days are probably done at some point soon.
I mean, he's kind of in that break glass in case of emergency role at this point, where you're playing a team that plays a heavier style. Yeah, let's get Ryan Reeves in the lineup tonight. That's basically his role at this point.
Yeah, it's fine. Ryan Reeves, though, still one of the better heavyweights in the league. Heavyweight goal scorer here, Kyle Connor with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, probably one of the best American goal scorers going right now. So he'll be a big part of that Four Nations team once they get the puck dropped on that next month.
All right, next up in the pack here, we got an Adam Gaudette Canucks card. One of the things we talked about on the recent Total Hockey Now is the whole JT Miller, Elias Pettersson thing. So that situation has to come to a head in Vancouver soon because it's clearly affecting them in the standings and something's got to give.
I was surprised by that entire situation and the fact that, like, I guess the two players don't like each other that much where, this has become a thing. And them denying it didn't make things any better. So I think you're right. We're probably going to see a trade at some point. I don't know who's going to make that trade. I know the Rangers have been linked to JT Miller, but I can understand the Canucks saying, yeah, we don't want Mika Zibanejad straight up for JT Miller. So we'll see if there's winds up being a fit there.
All right, we got a cool Portraits Rookies insert here, but not necessarily the player we want. Kirill Ustimenko with the Flyers. Gotten that fourth grade school photo look there.
That was always the background I went for, too, when it came to the school photos. Like the little laser. Nothing was more like late 80s, early 90s than that laser background for the school photo.
I mean, it was that background and then everything else. Like the other ones were just not even as good, not even close to that one. There was
that one and like the Heavy Woods one, where with like the mountain peak in the background or something. And I always chose this one.
Me too. I think I took that one for fourth grade or third grade. I forget which one. We got Richard Panik here, picture with the Capitals. We got the Stanley Cup good luck charm. There he is, Patrick Maroon, pictured with the Lightning there, and I don't like those Lightning jerseys. I don't like when teams just go like, unless black is part of your color. I mean, it was for a while, but like, that's too plain for me.
I don't like those jerseys either. I do like Patrick Maroon, the player, big, heavy forechecking SOB. And there's a reason why he's been a part of as many championship teams as he has been, like, because he plays that playoff style of hockey. I don't know how much he has left in the tank just because he's older. He's much slower now, doesn't move around as well as he used to, but he's going to be a guy who somebody will pick up at the deadline for like a 5th round pick, and everyone will be like, oh, this team's a genius. You add a Patrick Maroon to your lineup, and,
away we go.
Battle tested, ready for the playoffs.
Let's see here. We got Madison Bowie pictured with the Red Wings. Andre Burakovsky pictured here with the Avalanche. That's clearly during the bubble and during the pandemic, now playing with the Seattle Kraken. Capo Caco looks like a man renewed there in Seattle.
That's interesting. I wonder what the difference was there. Did they finally consistently give him top line minutes?
It's funny how that works out when you draft a guy to play in your top 6 and then you play him in your top 6 and you let him have it's funny how that works out. Huh? Look at that.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's going to thrive at Seattle. We got a Yevgeny Kuznetsov double there. Let's see here. We got Freddie Anderson, who I assume his best days are pretty much behind him, and who knows what his future is going to be there. But Kochetkov looks like to be the guy in Carolina for the foreseeable future.
I like Freddie Anderson. Like, he's always productive when he's healthy. He's just one of those guys. He's just never healthy, and it's tough to rely on him.
And that's the thing. Like you said, when he's healthy, he's a very solid goaltender, but just can't stay healthy anymore. One of the better fourth line centers there, still kicking around, Derek Ryan. Let's see what we got next. We got Jake Virtanen and that fantastic Canucks look there.
I wonder who Derek Ryan's playing with nowadays.
I want to say he's with Edmonton right now.
Is he? Yeah, that probably makes sense.
Victor Olofsson here, who's making some hay on the Golden Knights power play. That's pretty much what his role is now, but he's found it. We got Oscar Sundquist here with the St. Louis Blues. Let's see here. Nick Paul pictured with the Ottawa Senators. Now with the Lightning. Andrew Mangiapane playing well with the Capitals there. Let's see here. We're going to get to a couple of good guys here before we get out of this pack. Warren Fogle, now a picture with the Hurricanes, now with the Edmonton Oilers. Anton Strawman, former long-term second pairing D guy for the Rangers and the Panthers and other teams in the Lightning. A defenseman's defenseman, we'll call him. And let's see here. We've got Eunice Corpusalo, who's now backing up in Boston, to Jeremy Swayman. We'll see if they can turn things around up there in Beantown. Playing a little bit better lately, but not towards the top of the Atlantic, but definitely not towards the bottom. We got Jamie Benn, the Dallas Stars, still kicking around, still playing. I mean, that's another kind of guy that you want on your team, like the playoffs and just in general. That's just an all-around good player.
Yeah, and he's gonna be so much more valuable once that horrendous long-term contract that he signed is up, and you finally can squeeze him in a more reasonable number, because he's really more of like a $4 million player nowadays than like a $9 million or whatever he's making. But good player, good style of play. It's just he's a little overpriced.
A little bit. He's on the back nine, but he's still very productive and still does his thing. We got Cam Fowler, the recently acquired St. Louis Blues defenseman who just played in his 1,000th game. Also had a goal in the Winter Classic. So there you go.
Kind of crummy the Ducks didn't hold on to him through game 1,000.
I mean, I get both sides of it. Like, yeah, like you want to do right by a guy that's been with the franchise for that long, but then like, who knows if he gets hurt in between, game, whatever he was with the Blues and then the Ducks. I mean, he had probably a large handful of games, I want to say, between the two. But, cool. I mean, yeah, he didn't get it with the Ducks, but I mean, Winter Classic, getting a couple of goals, also not too shabby either. Now we have 3 cards to go. We got back-to-back Devils here. One of your all-time favorites, Travis Zajac.
All-time favorites a little strong. The Devils could use a Travis Zajac right now in 2025 because what they lack right now is a competent third-line center who's defensively responsible and can chip in a little bit offensively. And that's what Travis Zajac, mostly was throughout his career. Like his decent years, like he was like a 40-ish point guy, especially after he signed that long-term deal with the Devils, and certainly a mainstay on their penalty kill, their defensive matchups, and they just haven't gotten that level of like production from their third or fourth line centers all year. Like they really could use like a player of that ilk in the lineup right now.
Must be nice to be like, what we really need is like one specific need is what we're really lacking. Right? It's tough to be a Devils fan right now. Okay.
Listen, I sat through a decade of losing and rebuilding and losing and rebuilds being restarted. Your guys have one bad year. You can pipe down and take a seat in the back.
I believe me, I have. The Sharks have been more, although the Rangers starting to play a little better lately, but the Sharks have been more entertaining than the Rangers over the last 6 weeks. And then we got one thing you definitely don't need is a top line center, because you got one right there, Nico Hischier.
Yeah, Nico Hischier is basically the modern day Travis Zajac, and a little bit better offensively, but he's a guy who plays in all situations, plays those tough minutes against the opposition's best players, and that's part of the reason why Jack Hughes is as successful as he is. The other top 6 center as well. You have Nico doing a lot of the hard work, a lot of the dirty work, and then once you make the line change there and you get Jack on, and Jack and Brad are speedsters, playmakers who can do their own thing when they're playing at their best. So they complement each other very well.
They sure do, and it's very annoying to watch. And then we close this pack here. We've got an upper deck canvas here, formerly with the Hurricanes pictured here. Teuvo Teravainen now in Chicago. Things not going well for the Blackhawks this year. They got, but the thing about the Blackhawks this year is like some of the additions they made were like, they've put halfway decent guys around Bedard. Not that they're a threat to go to the playoffs, but maybe they'll be, a little bit better. And that just has not been the case in Chicago.
No, it hasn't been. I mean, the smartest thing the Blackhawks could do at this point is trade off the veterans they can trade off, and then keep doing what they've been doing. Spend their money on bringing in short-term veterans to insulate Connor Bedard. Clearly, the mix that they brought in, this last 2 years hasn't really worked between like Taylor Hall and Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi and some of the other guys they brought in. Clearly, that mix hasn't clicked and hasn't worked, but that's not to say that it's necessarily a bad strategy to do that. You should be bringing in veterans who can help guide young players along. I think the worst thing a franchise can do is actually what the Devils did throughout most of their rebuild was not bring in those veteran players on short-term deals when they had the chance to do so. And sort of, they had so many young players where it was the other extreme where you have all these young players trying to figure out at the same time. I think at that point, the Devils were just trying to see, all right, who of our prospect pool is going to sink and who's going to swim and figure out who's worth keeping around. But I think you need those veteran players who've been there before to to guide the young guys through it.
Don't disagree with any of that. And we'll see what happens with Chicago next year. But, they've got the cornerstone. Now they just got to do the right thing building around it. So we've got pulls of the day here. I mean, mine are pretty easy. I'm going to go with the Nico Hischier base or the Teuvo Teravainen upper deck canvas there. I would say, Jared, yours is what? Maybe that Jerry Rice card? Maybe which one?
No, I think I'm going to go with the Aiden Hutchinson rookie card. I mean, it's a rookie card for a prominent player in the NFL, even though it's a defensive player. I don't think you can go wrong with that.
And sometimes it's a defensive rookie. It's not the same. It's a quarterback or running back, but Hutchinson might be somebody that actually goes beyond that. He's that good. So now it's time to get to the starting lineup figure 5. We're going to go hockey today. And without further ado, you, sir, have 5 questions. One more time.
Is this player a Stanley Cup champion?
He is a one-time Cup winner.
Is this player in the Hall of Fame?
He is.
Is this player a defenseman?
Yes. Oh, 3 quick ones out of the gate.
I think I know where this is going. Did this player primarily play his career with the Boston Bruins?
No.
Oh, so it's not. All right, it's not Ray Bork. All right.
So he played with 3 teams. You'll remember him with one for sure, and then he won a cup with another one. But you'll remember him there too. And then the third team is like 2 seasons that you might have forgotten about.
Did this okay. I have another guess, but I don't recall how many teams he played with. So let me. Did this player win his Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks?
He did not win his Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks.
All right, so it's not Pronger. Okay, so all right, now I got to hazard a guess here, and clock's running, so I got to be fairly quick here.
You're in the right conference.
Hall of Fame defenseman who won 1 Stanley Cup and played on multiple teams, at least one of which I will recall. You kind of gave me that hint there with the Western Conference, so let's see. Detroit, Colorado, Dallas. Is it Sergei Zubov?
Ooh, that's a good guess and outside the box, and I like it.
But it's not right.
Unfortunately. Yes, Sergei Zubov won his cup with the Rangers, but went on to go to Dallas for a long time and also played with Pittsburgh for a while. But the guy I was looking for today was Mr. Rob Blake, current Kings GM. Wins his cup with the Avalanche. Obviously, we know him as a King. And the team you don't remember him potentially playing for was the San Jose Sharks for a couple of years.
You're right. I don't recall that. And you obviously saw where I was going with some of those leans. First with Ray Bork, obviously, and then with Chris Pronger. We obviously eliminated those two fairly quickly.
If I had said he's a current NHL GM, would you have gotten the Blake?
Probably not, because it's the LA Kings, and it's I don't want to say the Kings are a nondescript franchise, because they do play in Los Angeles, but they not a lot of attention's being paid to what the LA Kings are doing.
Yeah. I mean, granted, they had their window with Quick and Kopitar and Doughty when they won 2 cups in 3 years, and it was basically them and the Blackhawks coming out of the West every year. But yeah, before, and then Gretzky before that. But other than that, it's kind of been like few and far.
Well, it's funny. They went through their rebuild, but they don't really have a whole lot to show for their rebuild aside from like Quentin Byfield.
Who's
like they drafted all these prospects, and so many of them didn't pan out.
I'll say Brant Clark's starting to come along. I'll say Quentin Byfield has really taken a big step forward this season, playing all 3 forward positions and centering that second line. So Byfield, I think next year could be the year where he truly becomes like that player in LA.
Right, but I'm talking about like the Alex Turcottes of the world, Kaliev, who was just put on waivers the other day and claimed by the Rangers, Madden, center, who hasn't done anything. I'm sure there's somebody else I'm thinking of as well. Like Mikey Anderson's okay. He's basically their top defenseman right now. Drew Doughty's out, but for the most part, like a lot of their picks didn't pan out.
Doughty coming back soon. So, and the Kings have been hanging tough in the West all year, and it's staying in that top 3 in the Pacific. So, no reason to think they won't continue to be there. Starting lineup, studio audience for this week. We got the 2 matchups from NFL Divisional Weekend that I'm looking forward to most. We got Commanders, Lions on the left there. You got the 2000 champ Bailey and the 91 Barry Sanders. And then on the right side, you got Ravens, Bills, 1998 Vinny Testaverde there looking to go deep, maybe for Kadri Ismail. And then Bruce Smith, one of the best defensive ends of all time, there with the Buffalo Bills. So there we go. No unboxing this week. We'll see what happens next week. But nonetheless, Jared, we talked about YouTube poker. What do we got going on All About the Jersey this week?
Oh, that's a good question, because I have to write something and I haven't thought about it at all. So I would probably come up with something. They play Florida tomorrow for the final time this season, and they're already 2-0 against Florida. So it might very well be this team's a legit Stanley Cup contender or not, depending on how that game goes.
And then we got Total Hockey Now. A new episode came out last Thursday with Mr. Christopher Merez and myself. Congratulations to Ant Rivera on the birth of his son. So he will be taking a little temporary hiatus from THN. But nonetheless, we appreciate everybody tuning in today. Thank you for watching. Love ripping packs with you. Love doing starting lineup figure 5. Love talking NFL playoffs. But we'll be back with you next week. Won't be Monday. We'll be back with you next week to preview the NFC and AFC championship games. But for Mr. Jared Moore, I am at Pucking Thoughts. Back with you next week. New episode of Rip N Riff here on the Rip N Riff YouTube channel.